they unveiled their great big package on Tuesday night, which was agreed after weeks of negotiation between Republicans and Democrats, only for Elon Musk to start a barrage of tweets on Wednesday saying what a terrible deal it was. Any Republicans who support it should face challenges for their seats.
The US government is on course for a shutdown over the festive season, and that is in thanks part to Elon Musk. He and Donald Trump derailed efforts to pass a massive end-of-year funding bill in Congress. And there's less than 24 hours to go until the government's budget runs out. Here to explain is David Charter, assistant editor for the US for The Times. David, good afternoon.
Hello, Rosie from Washington, D.C.
Tell us, why is the government in this situation in the first place?
Well, look, this happens, or something like this happens just about every year at this time because they've got to pass this bill to keep the government running. It's a factor of American life ever since the 1980s when a bill was passed saying that the government must be funded on an annual basis. That they have a big row about it at Christmas or leading up to Christmas. But normally the Christmas holiday concentrates the mind. And they agree, the Republicans and Democrats who are always squabbling manage to agree so they can go home for Christmas. However, this year, as you say, they unveiled their great big package on Tuesday night, which was agreed after weeks of negotiation between Republicans and Democrats, only for Elon Musk to start a barrage of tweets on Wednesday saying what a terrible deal it was. Any Republicans who support it should face challenges for their seats. And then Donald Trump followed not long afterwards, saying that if Republicans were to vote for it, it would be a betrayal of the country. It was like they'd just woken up to the fact that this annual event was upon them. At the last minute, and of course that made a lot of Republicans pull their support. So the great big bill they'd spent weeks negotiating completely crashed, and they tried to stitch together a much smaller bill just to keep things going.
And so
last night, but Trump weighed in and tried to add something to it that 38 Republicans couldn't support. So that failed too.
So how perilous a situation are they in?
Well, this is interesting because what's different this year is that Elon Musk portrays himself as the great disruptor who wants to really cut spending, and he's basically saying we can go with this if you're not going to fund the government and various departments are going to shut down and over 1 million public employees are not going to be paid over Christmas. That might be the price worth paying for us to really tackle waste and overspending in America. So if they're in a bit of a standoff at the moment, the Republicans are going to try and bring another compromise bill soon to the House to try and pass it. But if the Democrats don't go along, they're basically saying, look, you've reneged on our deal that we painstakingly put together. You're trying to give Donald Trump too much. Then they could all go home for Christmas. The government would be effectively shut down, which means a lot of people won't be paid over Christmas. And Elon Musk might be saying, well, that's the price that's worth paying to fix America, to fix its massive debt, because it's $36 trillion in debt.
So will some public services shut down if they can't find some sort of resolution?
Well, look, there are certain services that are deemed essential that have continuous funding, that they're not included in this. So all the welfare checks that people get for and rely on, for example, they are in a different budget setting. So it's largely services deemed non-essential, but of course some of those are going to be essential to some people, like keeping the national parks open and registering new people for welfare, and other programs like food stamps for schools and many other programs. It's a sort of a snowball effect as the money begins to run out because they've turned off the taps. people will realize that there are things they can no longer do and services they can no longer get when they phone up for advice on various things. For example, there'll be nobody on the end of the phone because they're deemed an unessential, a non-essential employee who's been sent home because there's no money for them.
Yeah.
The other one, of course, is the military, that they won't get paid, and so they're being asked to show up, especially in the National Guard, for example, or maybe not the National Guard, sorry, but in other military deployments. They're being asked to show up with no pay, which they will do, but it's going to cause a lot of bad feeling.
It gives you the idea already of how much power Donald Trump wields. And we've been hearing from some Democratic officials who say it feels like Trump is the president already. There's a bit of a sort of post-mortem of exactly what went wrong with the Democrats. And we are hearing the extent to which White House staff did things like restrict Biden's access to information, controlled his reading material, limited meetings that he was having for months, if not years, before he decided to stand for re-election again. I mean, to what extent did the people around him try to protect the American public from what they then knew at the time, which was Joe Biden's deteriorating health?
So this is all beginning to tumble out now, Rosie, that as far back as 2021, in his first year, Biden would have bad days that his staff tried to cover up and to reschedule crucial appointments so that the outside world didn't really notice. And even during the build up to the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was which was regarded as chaotic and not very well handled, if you remember. Senior officials, including the defense secretary, had difficulty getting meetings with him. This is what's being reported, and I think we're going to hear actually a lot more about this because Biden's disappeared. He's had the fewest press conferences of any modern day president. He's not had a post-election press conference, which is normal, or a Christmas press conference, which other presidents have all done, and he seems to be, in the words of some Democrats, quiet quitting from the job of the presidency.
Yeah, I mean, that feels just extraordinary. I mean, I was sat in the studio when Biden did that first debate, and it was just sort of head in hands. You realise, oh my goodness, sort of the game is up at this point. You can't protect the president from that level of scrutiny. David, thank you so much. David Charter speaking to us there, the assistant US editor for The Times.